Hey, before we get started, I wanted to let you know about a promotion we've got going on right now for the graduate in your life. This time of year, millions of high school and college students are transitioning from one stage of life to another. But just because school's out doesn't mean that learning has to stop. You can help them on their journey with a subscription to the Next Big Idea Club. They'll get the smartest new nonfiction as chosen by our curators, Malcolm Gladwell, Susan Cain, Daniel Pink, and Adam Grant. Just go to nextbigideaclub.com and use the code GRADUATION to get 20% off a new or gift membership. That's nextbigideaclub.com and use the code GRADUATION at checkout. Okay, on with the show.
LinkedIn presents.
Good morning. I'm Michael Kovnat, and this is the Next Big Idea Daily, where we unpack the best new nonfiction, one big idea at a time. Now, think about the best leader you've ever known. It could be a boss, a parent, a mentor. Odds are it wasn't someone famous, flashy, or wildly accomplished. More likely, it was someone who made you feel seen, who noticed your effort, believed in your potential, or reminded you that you mattered. That's what real leadership looks like, according to the new book, The Power of Mattering: How Leaders Can Create a Culture of Significance, by researcher Zach Mercurio. Zach makes the case that this simple, often overlooked human need to feel significant to others is so important that leaders who pay attention to it can be remarkably effective. Drawing on his work with everyone from the U.S. Army to the National Park Service, Zach will share the key insights from his book right after this quick break.
From LinkedIn News, I'm Leah Smart, host of Everyday Better, an award-winning podcast dedicated to personal development. Join me every week for captivating stories and research to find more fulfillment in your work and personal life. Listen to Everyday Better on the LinkedIn Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
From LinkedIn News, I'm Jessie Hempel, host of the Hello Monday podcast. Start your week with the Hello Monday podcast. We'll navigate career pivots. We'll learn where happiness fits in. Listen to Hello Monday with me, Jessie Hempel, on the LinkedIn Podcast Network or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Zach Mercurio, author of The Power of Mattering: How Leaders Can Create a Culture of Significance. Often, when we think about and talk about leadership, we use impressive terms like inspiring, courageous, or even heroic. But through my research over the last decade, when I've asked people what makes their leaders great, they don't talk about grand actions or noble qualities. Instead, they talk about small interactions, moments in which their leaders helped them feel seen or heard, illuminated gifts they didn't know they had, or showed them the difference they made. It turns out that feeling significant to someone else in these ways has a name. Psychologists call it mattering, and it comes from knowing that we're valued by others and how we add value to their lives. As I dug deeper into what mattering is, why it matters, and how leaders can cultivate it, I was struck by 5 key insights. We are facing a mattering deficit. Let me take you back 10 years to a hospital room. I was meeting my newborn son, and I remember looking down at this tiny, crying human, and he tilted his head, locked eyes with mine, and reached out his arms frantically. When I reached back, he gripped my index finger and wouldn't let go. His crying stopped and his whole body calmed. I didn't realize it then, but I was experiencing 6 million years of fine-tuned programming. Scientists call that grip I felt the grasp reflex, an automatic action we take to secure our first caring relationship. From your first breath, your survival depended on mattering to someone. Think about this. None of us would be listening to or reading this if at some point we hadn't mattered enough to someone so they'd keep us alive. As we grow up and go to work, the survival instinct to matter evolves into the psychological need to feel seen, heard, valued, and needed. When this need is met, we experience what's called mattering. Now, mattering is distinct from belonging or inclusion. Belonging is feeling part of and connected to a group. Inclusion is being able to contribute to a group, but mattering is knowing how you're significant to individual members of that group. When we experience mattering, we flourish. We're more motivated and grittier and experience greater well-being. But when we feel that we don't matter, we languish and either act out in desperation or withdraw. Imagine the absolute panic of a child reaching out and finding no one. In a way, that's what's happening today. Too many of us are experiencing the same stress of insignificance. For example, in January, Gallup reported that employee engagement is at a 10-year low. If we were an organization, 7 out of 10 of us would be emotionally uninvested in our work. That's despite services to improve engagement becoming a $1 billion industry. So what's going on? 2 data points stand out. Just 4 out of every 10 employees in that sample felt that someone at work cared about them as a person, and only 30% believed that their potential was invested in. Last year, one poll showed that 30% of people felt invisible at work, and repeated surveys revealed that 6 out of every 10 people feel underappreciated. Again, we are not facing a disengagement crisis. We are facing a mattering deficit. The most glaring symptom of this deficit is loneliness. Estimates show that 1 out of every 3 people feels persistently lonely. At work, it's closer to 2 out of every 3. The advice to solve this has been to connect more. The result has been that we're in more meetings and on more platforms. The average adult sends 30 to 40 text-based messages daily and spends more time in meetings than ever, yet we're still lonely. So what have we missed? Research shows the quantity of interactions don't matter much when reducing loneliness. The quality does. So what makes a quality interaction? Experiencing what researchers call companionate love. Receiving the interpersonal behaviors of attention, of respect, and affirmation. In other words, the opposite of loneliness isn't having more people around you. It's feeling that you matter to the people around you. That's why just putting down our phones won't reduce disconnection. What we do after we put down our phones will. The solution isn't to connect more. It's to relearn the skills to connect better by showing people that they matter to us. Mattering happens in moments. Take a moment and think about when you most feel that you matter to others. How many of you are thinking about getting your direct deposit or when you won Employee of the Month? If you're like most people we've asked this question to, you're not thinking about big actions. You're thinking about small interactions. Mattering happens in moments. Let me give you an example. Jane is a custodian at the university where I do research. She was part of a study we did on how frontline service workers experience meaning. She told me she only took the job because she was nearly homeless and needed to put food on the table. Her friends kept telling her that cleaning was a dirty job, and she started internalizing that. She told me that during her first month, she would clock in, clock out, and continually think, why couldn't I have done something more with my life? She said, I felt useless and worthless. But then she described to me how a couple of minutes changed everything. A supervisor noticed she was struggling. He invited her into a training room, handed her a dictionary, and asked her to read the definition of the word custodian, a person responsible for looking after a building and everyone in it. That's you, he told her. You're responsible for this building and everyone in it. Jane looked at me and said, that was the first time in my life that someone made me feel worthy and important. She said that realizing she was responsible for a building and its people changed her beliefs about herself and her job. She's been here for 18 years. These moments of mattering are powerful. They can incite 2 beliefs that drive future behavior. Self-esteem, which is the belief that we're worthy, and self-efficacy, which is the belief that we're capable. It turns out that the best leaders tend to turn regular interactions into moments of mattering. There's a difference between knowing someone and noticing them. You can know your best friend but not notice that they're struggling. You can know a team member but not notice he or she feels unheard or left out of discussions. Jane's supervisor noticed she was struggling and took action. Noticing is the deliberate act of paying attention to the details, ebbs, and flows of others' lives and offering an action to show them we're thinking of them. Noticing takes time, attention, and practice. In one distribution center I worked in, there were 20 teams who all scored low on their employee engagement surveys, with one extreme outlier. When I met with that team, they all told me some version of, it's our supervisor. She just gets us. We'd do anything for her. So I asked that supervisor what she did. She pulled out a black moleskin notebook. Every Friday, she wrote down one thing she noticed about each team member. Nerves about a meeting, a struggle on a task, a child starting a new sport. Then on Monday, she told me she reviewed her notes and scheduled a micro check-in with each of them. She would start the conversations with, "I remember last week you were nervous about that meeting. How did it go?" Or, "I know your child was starting baseball this weekend. How did it go? Did he like it?" She said to me, "You know, Zach, there's magic in being remembered." Great leaders are noticers. We've come to call that practice her noticing notebook. She also asked her team 2 questions every week. What would you do if you were me? And what are you struggling with and how can I help? Leaders who are great noticers tend to do 3 things. 1, they have a process and practice for observing the details of people's work and lives. 2, they note those details. Noting is a powerful way to retrain our attention. And 3, they share back what they observed. Noticing others creates understanding, and understanding creates trust. Affirmation can be more powerful than appreciation or recognition. When Jane's supervisor, as we described earlier, defined custodian for her, he gave her the indisputable evidence of her significance. That's what makes affirmation different and more powerful from appreciation or recognition. Appreciation is showing gratitude for who someone is. Recognition is gratitude for what someone does. But affirmation reveals how someone's unique gifts make a unique difference. One way to affirm someone is to give them more meaningful gratitude. For example, anytime you say thank you or good job, go one step further and show people the difference they make and exactly how they make it. First, name people's unique gifts. Everyone offers us 4 unique gifts every day. Their strengths, what they love and what they're good at. Their purpose, the impact only they make. Their perspective, how they see the world. And their wisdom, what only they can teach us from living their life. Second, show them vividly the unique impact they make. For example, a facilities and maintenance manager I worked with at the National Park Service had a powerful practice. Each week, he would walk the park and take photos of park visitors using projects his team worked on every day. If there was a bridge being repaired, he took a picture of visitors walking across the bridge. If there was a bathroom that was reopened, he took a picture of the shorter lines for the other bathroom. And then he had a process on Friday of emailing them. And all he wrote was, "Look what you did." And he attached the photos. He gave his team the indisputable evidence of their significance. And this is what we find. Good leaders tell people that they matter, but great leaders have the skills and practices to show people exactly how they matter. When people feel replaceable, they will act replaceable. Finally, to feel that we matter, we must feel needed. In 1913, the French agricultural engineer Max Ringelmann had groups of students pull on a rope as hard as possible. The rope was attached to a device called a dynamometer that measures force. Then he had the same students pull the rope as hard as they could, but as individuals. He then added up the force readings. Who do you think exerted the most total force? Groups or individuals? It was the individuals. Why? Because they knew that they and their effort was indispensable. When people feel replaceable, they tend to act replaceable. But when people feel irreplaceable, they tend to act irreplaceable. When I've interviewed people and asked them to share when they most felt that they mattered in their lives, they frequently mention some version of these 5 words being said to them. If it wasn't for you. If it wasn't for you, this wouldn't be possible. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have made it through the week. Think of someone who you rely on. Now, think of the last time you explicitly told them. Try saying to them, if it wasn't for you, and show them how you rely on them. If you do, you will see and feel the power of mattering, and you'll be putting into practice a skill that sets the great leaders apart from the rest. The skill to show people exactly how they matter.
Thank you, Zach. Okay, everyone, you can get a copy of The Power of Mattering at your favorite bookstore. I'm Michael Kovnat. Hope to see you tomorrow.